Hello and welcome to Blue Army TV. I'm sitting here after Carlisle have been beaten 1-0 away from home at Shrewsbury Town as, Shrewsbury managed to get the win over us away from home. And look, it's I feel like I'm saying the exact same things every week on these videos, but I'll just quickly go over it. It's not good enough. It's weak defensively. It's not good enough attacking wise. Once again, Sam Lavelle, I think it's his man that gets away. Harry Lewis lets in a goal that he'll think himself that he should have saved. However, I think overall he had a fairly decent game. Harry Lewis, he made a couple of really good saves from point blank range, which a lot of them kind of saves is because it's at the keeper. But in that game, you'd expect him to concede more than one goal, and he's only conceded the one, so I don't think you can blame Harry Lewis too much for that game. Sam Lavelle missed two very, very good chances. I think both of Carlisle's best chances came from set pieces, and both fell to him. One of which he gets the ball to his feet, very, very easy chance to put away, you would think, but he doesn't do that. And look, Sam Lavelle, he's a centre back. He's not paid to score. But he definitely ain't defending well, so, he could at least chip in with a couple of goals to make up for it, but he can't even do that at the minute. Taylor Charter's out of the squad, not out of the squad, but dropped to the bench, is a mistake, I think. I think it's a strange one anyways, because I just think with Taylor, he sometimes gets passes wrong, and sometimes he makes little mistakes, but I just think the good outweighs the bad with him, because I think he's probably our most creative player. I think some of his passes and some of his set pieces are absolutely fantastic. And yes, he gets a couple of passes wrong here and there, but dropping him out of the team for me was definitely uncalled for, because I think he's been one of our best creative outlets while he's been in the team this time. And look, Dany Butterworth, he scored in his last game. So there's a reason he's come into the team. But yeah, look, and he didn't really particularly do much. Butterworth's an interesting one for me, because I'd be interested to see where he's going to play next season, and that means both positionally and where at, in terms of what club, because he's under contract for us next season. And it's a strange one, because he's never really found his position in this team, but whenever he has played, he showed bits of promise, and I think he'll be a very good player in League 2. I just think he needs to find a position on the pitch and stick with it. If he's going to play as an attacking midfielder, play him there. He can be the Gibson replacement when he leaves in the summer, which, in my opinion, is definitely going to happen. We'll offer him a contract, but Gibson won't stay, I don't think. So maybe he's the Gibson replacement. Is he going to play up top? I don't think he will when Kelly's back and Armstrong's up top. And we're going to get some new strikers in the summer, I'd imagine, as well. Out wide, maybe, if we start playing with wingers, I don't know. I just think Butterworth needs to find his position and stick to it, because he's a good player, and I think he's been hampered by being in and out of the team and being just thrown out wherever's Paul Simpson sees him as playing that particular week. But he definitely shouldn't have got into the team over Taylor. Harris and McGeoch both had frustrating first halves anyways. I think they both improved in the second half, and I think everyone improved in the second half, really. I think we probably should have got at least one, especially in the second half, but we didn't. Anyways, back to the point. Harrison Neal's been one of our best players since he signed, and he didn't really display his top form today. I think he made a few very bad mistakes early on, one that could have resulted in a goal. McGeoch, the same, and it came to about half an hour, and both our defensive midfielders were booked, which they're two players you wouldn't want to get booked. Both having disappointing performances. I think both giving away passes, both being tackled far too easily and not getting the ball out of their feet fast enough, which is rather uncharacteristic of Harrison Neal. And I can't really comment too much on McGee because he hasn't really impressed me massively. He's had a couple of good spells, but yeah, you expect that more from him. You don't expect it from Harrison Neal, because he's just been our best player since he came in, which he didn't show today. But yeah, another loss, another step closer. Cambridge lost today, which I think means that we can't get relegated in March. So you take some positives, I suppose, don't you? But yeah, it's really frustrating situation at the minute, because you come into these match reviews and you don't really know what to say, because each game's kind of a dud. And that's the position I find myself in now, where I'm having to come on and talk about these games when none of them really matter, because we could win every game until the end of the season and still go down. That's just the position we're in. I would love us to do that. I would love us to win every game until the end of the season. It's never ever going to happen. In fact, it's maybe a bit of an ask for us to win 2, never mind, the remaining, 8 now? But yeah, look, these games now, it's just about finishing strongly. We didn't quite put in the performance we did last week, especially going forward, and I think we were a lot weaker than we were last week, but it's the same result. It's a defeat. We haven't scored. And yeah, it's just another disappointing game. Huntington out of the squad altogether, I'd like to think that that's an injury. Well, not like to think that's an injury, but that's the only reasonable explanation, because I do think we've been better when he's been in the team, so to drop him out of the squad completely, I'd put him in front of Ben Barkley, and I'd put him in front of Sam Lavelle in either of those 2 centre-back positions. You can't put him in front of Mellish, because, Mellish is a slightly different player who plays a slightly different role, and is obviously a lot faster. You've got to play with them too. They would be my 2 starting centre-backs, Huntington and Mellish, with either Lavelle or Barkley next to it, and at the minute, I would have Mellish, Huntington, Barkley. I certainly wouldn't have Huntington on the bench, because I don't think Barkley really had a great game today. I think he was very poor. For their goal, their man gets the ball back to goal with both Barkley and Lavelle behind him, somehow gets in at the near post, and I think it's a failing on both Ben Barkley and Sam Lavelle for our goal, in hindsight. So the fact that both of them are starting in front of Paul Huntington, if in fact, I'm right in thinking that Paul Huntington is fully fit and just hasn't been included. It could be an injury. He's certainly had a lot of them this season. But yeah, it's a strange one. And Paul Simpson's definitely made mistakes today. I think leaving Taylor Charters out was a mistake. Leaving Paul Huntington out was a mistake. And yeah, just a weird one, I think. Josh Emmanuel was dropped, which I think was probably a very good decision for Jack Ellis, who he hasn't been brilliant, but he certainly hasn't been the root of any of our problems. And we've just got to go into next week. That's all we can do now. We just need to come into these dead rubber games, try and get a result out of them, and rebuild in the summer, which Paul Simpson, and I'll talk about Paul Simpson's comments now actually, he's come out and said, we started this season with a weaker squad than we ended last season in League 2. And I think that can be summarised by a chant that's gone missing this season. A chant that we sang last season, and it's relevant for today, where we would sing Feeney at the back, Dennis in attack. Our 2 best players last season, arguably, our top goal scorer and our captain. Both players left the club in the summer and weren't really replaced, and you've now got Morgan Feeney playing against us today, and Christian Dennis rotten at the bottom of League 2. It's a strange situation, but Paul Simpson's right when he says that. But that's not the issue I have with it. It's not that he's factually incorrect that I've got a problem with. It's the fact that the season's not over. Say that at the end of the season when you can get rid of some of these players, but we've still got 8 games left to go. I don't want you throwing players under the bus. I don't want you to say that to these players that they're not very good, because and the fact that he says every single week that we're not good enough. Well, who takes responsibility for that? Arguably, the old board takes a lot of responsibility for that, and I would agree with that. But the recruitment team and Paul Simpson themselves have got to take some responsibility. You've still started the season with some very good League One players in Owen Moxon. And players that have come into the club now, Armstrong and Neil, I think, are both League One players. John Mellish, maybe. I admit I am kind of struggling for players that are up to this league. Dylan McGeoch, I suppose, in a way. Player of the season for a League One club last season. Yes, it was a team that was in our position now. Plus Owen Moxon, who's gone to a very good League One club now. Yeah. Strange one. Frustrating one, but we're just going to have to rebuild in the summer. And it feels destroying that we've just thrown this season away. It was such a good opportunity to stay in this league and establish ourselves as a League One club. But we're now going to have to go down, and we're now going to have to fight to try and get back into League One. And, then the cycle continues, I suppose. But we've got a manager, I suppose, who's very experienced in getting out of League 2. And let's just hope he can work his magic again, because it certainly hasn't worked this season. So, yeah. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and in a bit.